Hey guys, Smack here, and today I'm going to be showing you how the maneuver warfare doctrine and tanks in general are usable in the late game. Now I do have to say that this doctrine is not better than static lines, but that doesn't mean it absolutely sucks like everybody says it does. Maneuver warfare and tanks have insane speed, which is not even that bad in the mountains. Tanks are also able to capture cities much quicker than infantry, which can raise someone's war exhaustion a lot in the late game, and people have stronger economies at later stages of the game, so it also means that you can afford the extra military spending. There's some pros and cons with the strategy. Obviously, you can only make tanks on square cities, unlike infantry, and infantry have lots of anti-tanks. But these tanks also have a little bit of anti-infantry in the armored fist doctrine. Anyways, to show you how tanks do have a chance, I will show you through testing where France has a maximum infantry attack and static lines, which gives around 450% attack and 700% defense. Meanwhile, max tank tech and maneuver warfare gives 750% attack and 240% defense. The doctrine also has a bonus of giving you silver tanks with still division if you can afford it. Anyways, onto testing 5,000 tanks versus 1 million infantry. The infantry wins with around 200,000 left, and a single one of these tanks can kill about 40,000 infantry. In general, tanks do win smaller skirmishes while infantry win larger stack battles compared to tanks. So, with all this in mind, let's try to test this strategy in a public server. So we're just going to start off as Egypt so long we get really bothered in the late game. We're going to easily just justify Israel and Palestine for the quick money and the 75 million each of them give. And we're just going to go for the usual factory setup as well. These are just AI wars and some setup, so I'll just skip on over to the first player war. So going over to the first player war, the first war is Turkey. He has allies of Iran, Georgia, and Saudi Arabia. So to avoid going to war with too many players, I decided to justify on Saudi Arabia instead, which only has an ally of Turkey, which is pretty much the only country I want. So declaring war on Turkey is pretty simple. I already have my tanks ready, which are pretty good, and I also have max military spending for the 150% attack and defense bonus. Turkey comes in with his home guard, it's only 200,000. Which at this point in the game, tanks should be able to easily kill since they don't really have anti-tank. At the same time, I also area specialize my home guard so I can attack Saudi Arabia. And I don't want to focus too much on Saudi Arabia later on since I have plans for invading Turkey and the rest of Europe. So we're just going to get some policies ready and also send in one division of tanks to help annex the rest of Saudi Arabia. And that's pretty much it for the war. Also going to start going into maneuver warfare and also armored fists. But we're not going to research steel division yet just because it's too much of an expensive doctrine and my tanks will be way too expensive considering I also have max military spending. So after conquering Turkey to the point where you can pretty much just white piece him when you want to, I try to look for a player war because this game is getting pretty boring and I'm just expanding with AI. So I looked to fight Italy, who was allies of Austria and Poland. I also noticed that France is also attacking Italy at the same time, which is going to steal land from me, so I also decided to justify on France. So I land about 1.8 thousand tanks in Italy's mainland, and its capital only has around 200 tanks, meaning that'll be extremely easy for me to take. There is one problem though, is that if I take Italy, France also gets it. I don't want that to happen, so I'm going to hold off on taking the capital just yet till I can go to war with France and take the rest of Italy for myself. So after a bit of war block, we do go to war with France, and I decided to split my destroyers for the flanking bonus because it is a skull destroyer and that might kill one of my destroyers, so I'm not going to take the risk. And I also take Rome. Now we can start moving into France because he is taking Italy's land, which I do want. So I'm going to go in and just start attacking France. Italy is pretty much dead though, so I do want to just focus on trying to get Paris as soon as possible, if it is possible. I do notice that UK has around 2.4 thousand tanks coming from the mountains, so I decided to entrench my tanks on the mountains too for the extra 16 times mountain defense bonus. So while I'm micromanaging my troops, I do have a really extended front line because I did not annex Turkey. I don't want to annex Turkey yet just because it's going to make my research and government spending much more expensive. Since I entrenched my tanks in the yellow mountain terrain, it has a massive defense bonus and USA just loses 1,000,000 troops to it. So I can start going more towards the south of France and maybe take parts of Spain. And also grab up parts of Andorra so I have a closer base for my attackers. At this point of the war, nothing much happened, so I'll just go speed through it. So a funny thing that happens during the war is that USA tries to land 700,000 troops in my land, and a single maneuver warfare tank kills the entire stack, and it's not even close to, which probably really discouraged them during this war. And also China tries to annex some of Turkey's land, but since I didn't even annex it, doesn't affect any of my stability or war exhaustion, which is pretty nice. So my tanks in Andorra finally reinforced, and Poland took the capital, so it means I can finally start annexing France again. And he also has to go, so he scorches everything, while also collapsing from Spain getting released. With quantum computing and some tax research, I decided to finally annex Turkey and Saudi Arabia, since it means I don't have to keep up the really expensive research spending. China does attack me soon after, but that doesn't really matter since I am able to easily defend its attacks with my tanks from Syria. Once our white piece China, since he got bored, I'm now finally able to move on and attack Germany, who decided to fortify his entire country. After a bit of back and forth with Germany, USA comes in with a navy I can't beat, so I decided to send my tanks and destroyers away to counter-invade the USA, and use my battleships to stall and maybe kill his carrier. It doesn't quite work out though, and the situation looks pretty bad since USA has 13,000 tanks and infantry that are also trained ready to invade me. Until he decided to land in the actual worst spot possible. He literally could have landed anywhere, but decided to choose a desert with 3 cities in it. So I scorched the cities to give him heavy attrition loss, and also used anti-air to defend my tanks from the carrier. He decides to go in with his army, and I kid you not, 800 maneuver warfare tanks kills his entire army. Because of this, USA calls me a hacker and rage quits the game. I was going to counter invade him anyway, but to make sure he stays dead, I decided to take Washington and some cities anyway. Without his ally, Germany also dies pretty soon.
At this point, I pretty much won. I've killed almost everyone in the server, and I decided to spare Japan too, since he was a new player, and then did not do something the Rise of Nation moderators won't like to help him form the Japanese Empire much quicker. Anyways guys, be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next Smack That Game video.